alongside Salva and Maya as they develop perseverance and find hope in the midst of challenges and difficulties. Our first destination is the capital of Sudan. Sudan is a country in northeast Africa. Arabic is the national language of Sudan. The government follows the religion of Islam, and they wanted the whole country to follow this religion because different ethnic groups did not want to give up their culture. Civil war broke out in the country. Civil war has been going on in Sudan for years. In 2011, the country split into North and South Sudan. Discussion questions. What caused the war in Sudan? Below, you'll see a YouTube video of the conflict in Sudan, and that will help explain what some of the causes were of the war in Sudan. So now we're moving to South Sudan, and we're going to visit Salva's village of Lunari. Semi-desert area is grown there. Lunari is Salva's village where he grew up with his parents and siblings. His family was part of the Dinka tribe. The Dinka tribe valued their cattle. Since they spoke a different language and had a different religion than the government in Sudan, they were targeted for ethnic cleansing, which means killing people from a certain ethnic group, because they did not want to change their culture or follow the religion of the country. Discussion questions. Compare and contrast your culture with Salva's Dinka village. What is similar and what is different? How would you feel if you had to flee your home and leave your family? Vocabulary. Browse, aimless, droned. Below you'll see a link to a website with facts about Dinka and Nuna tribes, and below there is a video of the lost boys of the Sudan, and this video shows two men who have gone through similar experiences as Salva, and they explain their stories. Okay. Next. So after Salva leaves his village, he travels to the Atwell region in Uriel. Uriel is the home of the Atwell people. Lions lived in this region. The Atwell people were called the people of the lion, and the lions in this region were said to be the fiercest in the world. Hark, page 31. At first, Salva is worried about lions, but then he got so tired from walking that he just fell asleep. While Salva was asleep, his friend Mario was eaten by a lion. Discussion questions. What do these chapters teach us about the geography and wildlife in the region? How would you feel if your friend was eaten by a lion? Vocabulary. Gingerly and fake. Below you'll see a link to facts about lions. Next to the river. Let me show you what it looks like. Right there. So we'll go a little closer. And you can see the rivers here. Crossing the Nile River. The Nile River is the longest river in the world. Salva calls it the mother of all life in Sudan. Part page 42. Salva and the other wanderers had to travel across the Nile River where it formed a big lake. They built canoes and paddles from reeds to get across because the river was too deep. In the middle of the lake, they stopped at an island that a fishing community lives at. The diet of the people in the fishing community included fish, hippos, and crocodile meat, along with cassava, sugarcane, and yams. Mark page 47. At night, the area was covered in mosquitoes. Most people had to use mosquito nets to keep themselves from getting bitten at night. Discussion questions. In Chapter 7, Salva goes from mourning his friend Mariel's death to building a boat quickly to survive. Make an inference. What does this reveal about his character? In what ways does the geography influence the culture of the island community? Vocabulary: papyrus, staggered, monotonous. You will see a picture below of people who are working in the Nile River. Next, we're going to head to the Akobo Desert. In the Akobo and the other had to cross the dry desert, and the only plants that could survive thorns were. They traveled with little, died of thirst. To encourage Salva to keep going. At the refugee camp, a group of Moors looted the group and killed Uncle Juir. Discussion questions. Reread pages 53 to 54 in the text. How does Uncle encourage Salva to keep going in the desert? During the journey in the Akobo Desert, one of the women in the group gives some of her water to a dying man. The other people in the group responded by saying, "It is useless. They will die and you will die with them." Mark page 56. Would you share your water if you were in the same circumstance? Explain why or why not. Vocabulary: relentless, bored, looting, corpses, ravaged, trudged. Now, Salva travels to a whole new country, and now he went over the border into Ethiopia, and in Ethiopia he went to the Eton refugee camp. So, at the Eton refugee camp, Salva finally made it to safety at the Eton refugee camp in the country of Ethiopia. It is located near the Gila River. A refugee camp is a place full of people who leave their homes to escape war. They often lack food, medical supplies, and proper housing. Salva spent 6 years in the Eton refugee camp. When the Ethiopian government collapsed, the refugee camp was attacked. The soldiers forced the refugees to go back to Sudan by forcing them into the Gila River. Discussion questions. How does Salva deal with the death of his uncle? Why do you think the Ethiopians attacked the refugee camp? Vocabulary: willing, grudgingly, amazingly. emaciated, skittered, stampeding, torrents. Below, you will see a link to a video which discusses different refugee camps in Ethiopia and the crisis that's happening. So all of the southern Sudanese refugees that came to Ethiopia and what it really looks like to live in a refugee camp. Alright, so let's go very far to the Gila River. Now this picture is very big, so we'll have to just scroll down. But the picture is really descriptive and it shows the exact event of when the soldiers came and attacked the refugee camp and forced the refugees to flee and swim in the crocodile-infested Gila River. So the Gila River is in the Gambela region of Ethiopia. The Etang refugee camp was located near the Gila River. It had strong currents that could pull someone underwater. The river was filled with crocodiles that can be deadly. Salva had to swim across the Gila River while being shot on the other side. So the discussion questions. How would you have felt if you were forced to leave the refugee camp? Where would you go? At the end of chapter 13, it says that the crowds of the other lost boys followed Salva. What does this show us about his character? Vocabulary, plotting, din, hill, quotes. So from Ethiopia, Salva made a very long trip to Kakuma. Okay, so the Kakuma refugee camp. Kakuma is located in northern Kenya near the Tarak River. Salva stayed in the Kakuma refugee camp for 2 years. There were about 70,000 people at the refugee camp. In A Long Walk to Water, the Kakuma refugee camp is described as a dreadful place isolated in the middle of a dry, windy desert. Tall fences of barbed wire enclosed the camp. You weren't allowed to leave unless you were leaving for good. It felt almost like a prison. Park, page 84. The text also says that nearby villagers stole from the refugees. Salva decided that he wanted to leave because he did not like the conditions there. Discussion questions. How are the living conditions in the refugee camps? Why do you think local people treated the refugees badly? Vocabulary, fortunate, page 85. And below is a link that describes what it's like to go to school in a refugee camp. And I thought that was important because later on you'll see at the next refugee camp that Salva has to go to school in the refugee camp, and he doesn't really have all the supplies that he needs. Okay? So I'm very fortunate that you have school supplies where you are. Alright, and our next location is the Ifo refugee camp. This is also in Kenya, but it's in a different part of Kenya. And if you zoom in, you'll see that it's larger in the middle of the city. So the Ifo refugee camp is another camp that Salva stayed in. By this time, Salva was 22. There was barely enough food for everyone in the camp. There was no place that he could work to earn money. At the Ifo refugee camp, Salva met the aid worker Michael. Michael gave